My name is Balu. I'm the S&MA lead for the Orbiter project. I'm here to talk about configuration management tracking of hardware and how to minimize that wherever practical. On the shuttle program, our requirements for configuration management go beyond what's necessary. We're required to track too many parts down to the serial number level. We have extensive configuration management tracking requirements, and the result of that is excessive documentation, and at times it ends up resulting in excessive work on the vehicle in order to satisfy these configuration management tracking requirements. An example on the shuttle would be closeout panels. We have a number of closeout panels scattered all around the vehicle that are basically used to close out areas where there may be wiring or other types of equipment behind those panels. And when the equipment behind those panels is worked on, the panels are removed. And the panels are all serial number traceable. So we've had instances where a panel would be removed and the work done behind the panel and then the panel reinstalled without the serial number of that particular panel being documented in the paperwork associated with the work that had been done. And that's a violation of our configuration management requirements. And so that instance would require another piece of paper to be written to document that deficiency. And later on, perhaps not until the mission is complete, but at some point in time, would actually require that panel to be removed and the serial number recorded and the panel reinstalled. Even though the panel in place was verified to fit properly, gaps are per the requirements, everything else is fit up properly, but just because we didn't have the serial number recorded, we had to remove it. So there's an example of extraneous work documentation-wise to write the paperwork up and to track it, and labor-wise to physically remove the panel to obtain the information. My name is Balu. I'm the S&MA lead for the Orbiter project. The message is to be smart about what you choose to maintain configuration management on. Focus on the critical parts that provide a critical function that are important to know exactly what their history is. But for low criticality parts that are not serving a function that could cause a severe problem and otherwise don't require traceability, don't include them in your configuration management program. Try to get commonality amongst parts so you don't have as many different configurations, and reduce the number of parts that you maintain configuration control on. What I'm not referring to is lot traceability for critical hardware such as fasteners or electronic and electrical parts. Those parts need to be tracked in case we end up with issues at a vendor, perhaps, who hasn't heat treated a fastener correctly. We would want to know which lots are on the vehicles. This is in reference to low criticality parts that don't pose any risks or other reasons to be serial number traceable. If it's not critical for any reason, if it's not a safety of flight issue, a critical asset that's very expensive to replace, it should be minimized wherever possible. But that does need to be done wisely, because as I mentioned before, there are a lot of different parts that you do need to maintain configuration management on, where you could install it on a vehicle and many years later learn of problems with that particular lot of part, and you'd want to know where you had them in the fleet so that you could address any issues that arise from the new information. The overall message is to be smart about what you choose to track in your configuration management system. Track the things that are important to track, but don't track things that are not critical and otherwise don't require tracking.